This video was finalised in the early hours of Thursday 4th of March 2019, and the script was completed at 11:30 on Wednesday the 3rd. All information was true at the time of creation, but as with everything to do with Brexit, things are subject to change. If you want the news explained as it happened, then make sure to subscribe to our channel. Also follow us across our other social platforms to get exclusive content, as well as updates when we post videos and articles to our website. If you don't want to miss a thing, make sure you follow us by searching for TLDR News. There have been so many huge developments in the last couple of days, so in this video we're hoping to get you up to speed. On Tuesday, May invited Jeremy Corbyn to negotiate a Labour Conservative Brexit deal. This has annoyed some of the Eurosceptic wing of her party, because a Labour-influenced deal will probably just be a softer Brexit. In fact, a couple of ministers have even resigned over this, with speculation of more to come. While it's obviously annoyed Brexiteers, it's worth looking at what May is actually offering here. She's made it clear that any concessions will only be put in the political declaration, and as such won't be legally binding. It will still have the support of both the Conservative and Labour parties, but there's a chance that the next leader of the Conservative Party might be tempted to ignore it and go ahead with their vision of Brexit.
Lee Rowley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week in this chamber, the Prime Minister said the biggest threat to our standing in the world, to our defence and to our economy is the Leader of the Opposition. In her judgment, what now qualifies him for involvement in Brexit?
Prime Minister.
Can I say to my honourable friend, every member of this House is involved in Brexit. I want to deliver Brexit. I want to deliver Brexit in an orderly way. I want to do it as soon as possible. I want to do it without us having to fight European parliamentary elections. The House has rejected every proposal that has gone before it so far, so I believe what the public want is for us to work across this House to find a solution.
Interestingly, during Prime Minister's questions, Conservatives repeatedly criticised their own leader for talking with Jeremy Corbyn, while the official opposition merely thanked her. This really highlights the continued infighting within the Conservative Party. That being said, the Labour Party were also worried that this might be some sort of political trap. By associating Corbyn with this deal, if it fails, May can put some of the blame on him. Also, if they can't agree on anything, then May can say that it's Corbyn's fault that no Brexit deal was agreed. SNP MP Stuart Hosey remarked on this during PMQs today.
Stuart Hosey.
After 2 years of Brexit deadlock, intransigence and a 7-hour cabinet meeting, the best the Prime Minister can do is invite the leader of the British Labour Party to become the co-owner of her Brexit failure. So let me ask her, had she been the leader of the opposition and invited into a trap like this, would she have been foolish enough to accept?
Prime Minister.
Across this House, I believe we all have a responsibility to ensure that we deliver Brexit. And I think it is entirely right. I think members of the public expect us to reach out across this House to find a way through this. They want a solution. The country needs a solution. The country deserves a solution. And that's what I'm working to find.
Vicky Ford.
Anyway, Corbyn went ahead and had the meeting regardless. No one knows exactly what went on, but both Corbyn and May say that it went well. So on to the main event. What have Parliament decided to do with their time in charge yesterday? If you remember, on Monday, MPs gave themselves control over Parliament's schedule for Wednesday. This means that they were free to schedule whatever votes and debates they wanted to. So what did they schedule? Well, a lot happened, so we're going to keep this succinct to try and avoid confusion. MPs tabled another business motion. Business motions are proposals to change the order or timings of events in either house. Unlike on previous occasions, they didn't use this to plan further indicative votes. Instead, they scheduled a vote on a bill presented by Yvette Cooper, demanding that the government requests an extension to Article 50.
Order. Order.
European Union Withdrawal Number 5 Bill, second reading.
I call the Honourable Lady, Right Honourable Lady, the member for, I think I should say, Normanton, Pontefract and Castleford, Yvette Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the European Union Withdrawal Number 5 Bill now be read. We have put forward this bill as a cross-party bill. in order to avert no deal on April the 12th, and done so for fear of the damage that no deal would do to all of our constituencies. We understand that the Cabinet Secretary and National Security Advisor to the Government, Sir Mark Sedwill, told the Cabinet yesterday that no deal would make our country less safe. We understand too that the Cabinet was warned that food prices would go up by 10%. This is a tight timetable for this bill because this is a tight timetable for the House facing the deadline of the 12th of April, facing the European Council meeting that will take place. And I will be honest, I could never have imagined when we started these debates that we would be in a situation where 9 days from Brexit Day nobody knows what's going to happen.
Cooper's bill basically gives Parliament the power to tell the Prime Minister to ask for an extension and tell her how long the extension will be. However, it's pretty bare bones. It doesn't say what to do if the EU reject her request, and it doesn't force the Prime Minister into asking for the extension immediately. Given that the EU will likely make some changes to the UK's request, it might not do much anyway, especially considering that today Juncker ruled out the chance of another short extension without a plan. Essentially, this is an attempt at an insurance policy. MPs don't trust May not to lead the UK into a no-deal Brexit, so they wanted to put this in place to stop May from allowing a no-deal. 10 amendments to the Cooper motion were proposed at this stage. 3 were voted on, and all 3 of these failed. Normally, in a busy evening such as this, we brush over these amendments, but one really stands out as noteworthy. Hilary Benn tabled an amendment to the business motion, requesting that Parliament have even more time to schedule more indicative votes next Monday. Sure, indicative votes, not interesting yet. However, it really spices up once the results were announced.
Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 310. The noes to the left, 310.
310 votes for, 310 against. This is ridiculously rare. In fact, it hasn't happened since 1993.
Order, order.
The ayes to the right, 317. The noes to the left, 317.
The numbers being equal, it's my duty to cast my vote. It is not the function of the chair to create a majority on a policy issue where no majority exists amongst the rest of the House.
In accordance with the Constitutional Convention, known as Speaker's Denison's Rule, the Speaker John Bercow voted against the motion, to defeat it with 311 votes to 310.
Order! In accordance with precedent, and on the principle that important decisions should not be taken except by a majority, I cast my vote with the noes. Yeah. So the noes have it. That is the proper way in which to proceed. Unlock!
This means no more indicative votes. As the Speaker explained, he voted this way because the convention is that there should be a majority in order for a motion to pass, which there wasn't. We'll explain the convention in proper detail in our upcoming video on the Speaker. Yes, I know we've been saying this for ages, but in case you haven't realised, politics is pretty hectic at the moment, so we've been slightly bogged down and the production of this video has been slowed quite considerably. Anyway, all of the amendments failed, and Parliament got to vote on a business motion which proposed setting time aside to rush Cooper's bill through the House. This passed with 312 votes for and 311 against it. Just one vote in it. So that put into motion an unusual series of events. As we explained in our video on how bills pass through the House of Commons, ordinarily the process of passing a law takes a long time, going through a number of phases. Yesterday evening, they rushed the Cooper Amendment through the House in order to get it passed as quickly as possible. Fast-tracking a private member's bill isn't unheard of, but it's far from the standard procedure. This meant that it went through the first and second readings, the committee stage, and then later in the evening got to the final stage in the House of Commons, the third reading. Some question this approach, saying that a motion as serious as this shouldn't be rushed through and should be debated fully. At the end of the committee stage, a huge number of amendments were proposed. These amendments came primarily from MPs who were seeking to limit the impact of the bill and the extent of the delay that was being proposed. 13 were selected to be voted on by the Speaker, including one by the government, demanding that the government were able to negotiate whatever sort of extension it sees fit. This was defeated 400 votes to 220, which is pretty bad for a government-backed amendment. All of these amendments failed, and the bill made it to its third and final reading in the House, unamended. This wasn't a popular move, with a number of MPs protesting the way that this motion had been rushed through Parliament.
It's difficult to argue that you've had an extremely considered debate when you've rammed a bill through the House of Commons in barely 4 hours. That is not, sir, a considered debate. That is a constitutional outrage.
I absolutely understand the right honourable gentleman's point of view that this is not a procedure that should be followed, but it is not a disorderly procedure. It is not a disorderly procedure.
Regardless of that, it made it to a third and final vote.
Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 313. The noes to the left, 312.
Just one vote in it for a second time that night.
Point of order, Yvette Cooper.
Mr. Speaker, given the strong feelings that there are on this issue and the tightness of the vote, I think it's really important to say how welcome it was that this has been a very considered and thoughtful debate throughout. The House has tonight voted again to make clear the real concern that there would be about a chaotic and damaging no deal, and also to support the Prime Minister's commitment to ensure that we don't end up with no deal on April the 12th. And I am sure that we will be very keen to work with the government to make sure that this legislation progresses in a way that is sensible and works in the national interest.
Anyway, what does that actually mean? Well, it means hypothetically that Parliament could force the government to apply an extension to Article 50. However, they would still need to agree on what sort of extension that would be, and get a majority behind it, which isn't going to be easy, especially given that this only passed with one vote. Let's say that those 313 MPs who think they can order the government about are split between a long extension and a short extension. Given how disorganised Parliament has been recently, could they really get it together and agree on a sort of extension, especially under extreme time pressure? Not just that, but realistically it'll be the EU setting the terms of any extension at the moment. Whatever Parliament decide on, when the EU comes back with a different offer, then what? Are Parliament still allowed to negotiate on the government's behalf, or is it back in the hands of the government? Anyway, all we're trying to say is that while this does mean something, and it is still big news, ultimately the most important factor in the UK getting an extension is what the EU feels like. Even if Parliament express their support for a short extension, if the EU don't support it, it's sort of irrelevant. Equally, if Parliament express their support for a long extension, they'll have to accept the EU's terms and conditions, like holding MEP elections and coming up with a real plan. Anyway, that's the end of a long video, and that's what happened last night in the House. This is clearly not the end of the process, so if you want to be kept up to date with everything that happens, make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. Also, following us across other platforms gets you exclusive content, as well as notifications when we post articles on our website and future videos. You can find us by searching for TLDR News.